Good, happy Thursday morning, September 10, 2020. I'm Riley King, and welcome to the Riley King Newscast, right here on the Riley King Network. We have a lot of news to get to this Thursday morning, so let's begin. First up, let's begin with your COVID-19 updates. There are 23 new cases of COVID-19 confirmed in New Hampshire. No new deaths. 242 active cases in the state. 23 new positive cases of COVID-19 were confirmed in New Hampshire, health officials said yesterday. Now let's take a look at your coronavirus in New Hampshire updated data and information. Let's take a look at that right now. And here is a look at that information for all of you right now. There are 7,517 number of people in New Hampshire have tested positive for COVID-19. 6,547,939 number of people in the United States have tested positive. 433 number of deaths from COVID-19 in New Hampshire. 719 number of people who have been hospitalized with COVID-19 in New Hampshire. And 175 number of deaths from COVID-19 in the United States. Let's take a look at this current map of New Hampshire right here, where current cases of COVID-19 are. Manchester, 39 current cases. And let's take a look at this map of New Hampshire, where total cases of COVID-19 are. Manchester, 1952. And now let's take a look at these three charts here. Let's start with the first chart here, new cases each day in New Hampshire. In the purple, daily new positive COVID-19 cases. In the orange, new hospitalizations, and in the red are the deaths. Let's take a look at this chart here, current cases. In the purple, total current COVID-19 cases, and in the orange, current hospitalizations. And let's take a look at this chart here, total cases. In the purple, total positive COVID-19 cases. In the orange, total hospitalizations. In the red, deaths, and blue recovered. And let's take a look at this chart here, age group of cases, female and male of cases, and risk information. And let's take a look at this chart here, infections, hospitalizations, and deaths. And let's take a look at this chart here, deaths, percent of New Hampshire population, race/ethnicity of cases, and hospitalizations. And a reminder, your common symptoms: fever, lack of smell, difficult breathing, cough, chills, nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea. How it spreads, and prevention tips. And be sure to stay with the Riley King Network for the latest of your COVID-19 information. Phelps wins Democrat nomination for governor, will face Sununu in November. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9.
Busy lives need banking that can keep up. Triangle Credit Union offers big bank solutions with community values.
After refusing to admit defeat in the Democratic primary for governor on election night, progressive fighter Andrew Volinsky conceded late Wednesday morning.
We got outspent 2-1 for the insiders to achieve a 2,000 vote margin.
Now, the November matchup is set. Democrat Dan Feltus will take on Republican incumbent Chris Sununu. who is touting management of the COVID-19 pandemic and the economy.
Results. Every elected official should be held accountable to results, and I think we've gotten phenomenal results in the state.
As this contest gets underway, Feltus is coming out swinging, attacking the governor to chip away at his high favorability ratings with Republicans and many Democrats.
You know, my dad wasn't governor, unlike the current governor. My dad wasn't governor. My brother wasn't a U.S. Senator. I was never gifted a ski resort.
We heard it quite a bit in 2018, and in 2020, you can expect yet another robust debate about paid family and medical leave. That bill was Senator Feltus's baby here at the State House, and he bristles at the contention that his proposed premium on wages for workers is really an income tax.
Well, it's not even a tax. It's a requirement that all workers have access to paid family and medical leave insurance. How it's provided by the business is completely up to the business, so there's not even a required tax. So that's just a talking point.
One way or another, you got to pay. That's an income tax. And no income tax in this country ever stayed at 0.5%. Once you crack that door, it's just an open invitation for more money into the government, and the government will always have an excuse to take another buck out of your pocket.
Today, Sununu also picked up the endorsement of the professional firefighters of New Hampshire, another indicator he'll be tough to beat in November. In Concord, Adam Sexton, WMUR, News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Senator Maggie Hassan, part of Senate panel questioning NIH Director and Surgeon General, ask about vaccine development safety measures. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9, Charisse LeClaire.
East Edges of Laconia is having a huge anniversary sale. Save hundreds and get huge discounts on wood, pellet, and gas products, jacuzzi spas, grills, sheds, gazebos, and play sets. It's anniversary sale savings at East Edges in Laconia.
We know everybody in your shops are working around the clock.
New Hampshire Senator Maggie Hassan, part of a panel of lawmakers questioning the Surgeon General and Director of the National Institutes of Health.
And what specific steps have been taken to ensure that these decisions will not be subject to political influence from the White House?
Surgeon General Dr. Jerome Adams telling another member of the panel that hasn't been the case.
As a member of the coronavirus task force, there has been no politicization of the vaccine process whatsoever.
It comes as drug maker AstraZeneca pauses its vaccine trials after a participant experienced an unexplained illness, saying in a statement in part, there is no final diagnosis and there will not be one until more tests are carried out. Those tests will be delivered to an independent safety committee that will review the event and establish a final diagnosis. The company is now expediting an independent review.
This ought to be reassuring to everybody listening when we say we are going to focus first on safety and make no compromises. Here is Exhibit A about how that is happening in practice.
Earlier this week, President Trump said the nation will have a vaccine very soon, but NIH Director Dr. Francis Collins says the timeline isn't known.
Will it be done by a certain date? I could not possibly tell you right now because I don't know what's going to happen.
Meantime, Senator Hassan is part of a bipartisan group of lawmakers that is pushing the SAVE Act. They say that would aim to improve public confidence in a vaccine. Reporting live, I'm Charisse LeClaire, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Trump endorsed candidates win New Hampshire primaries, but will endorsement help in general election? Mesner Mowers to take on Democrat incumbents. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9.
Busy lives need banking that can keep up. Triangle Credit Union offers big bank solutions with community values. Our digital
Matt Mauer's on the trail today, accepting the endorsement of the Manchester Police Union and taking swings at his Democratic opponent.
And you know, right now you have a bunch of politicians, including Chris Pappas, who are using police as a political punching bag.
Mauer's primary campaign was boosted by a Trump endorsement. Republican voters didn't seem to mind that he's a relative unknown and a political newcomer, but incumbent Chris Pappas believes the general electorate will.
I have a record of public service, of involvement in multi-generational family business here. This is my home and will always be my home. And so I just didn't show up here for a political career.
The 1st Congressional District is historically vulnerable for first-time incumbents, but deep roots could be a factor, according to political analyst Dante Scala.
That's not enough to win in and of itself, but if it's a close race, it could make a few points worth of difference. Whereas Matt Mauers, he is going to rise or fall with President Trump.
The same with Corky Messner, vying for Jeanne Shaheen's U.S. Senate seat. And Scala says incumbents could have an advantage in a COVID year.
Jeanne Shaheen, who's a longtime incumbent, very familiar to a lot of voters, also benefit from that sense of security that people have in seeing a familiar face as an incumbent.
Scala says, as goes the president, so goes Mauers and Messner. And he points out that 4 years ago, candidate Donald Trump was considered an outsider. There was a third-party candidate and a reluctance to vote for Hillary Clinton. He says none of that is in play now, and it will come down to voting for President Trump or not. We're live in Portsmouth. Jennifer Crompton, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Record number of absentee ballots cast in state primary. Election officials say they expect numbers to grow in November. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9, Andy Hirschberger.
Busy lives need banking that can keep up. Triangle Credit Union offers big bank solutions with
Durham Town Administrator Todd Seelig says they normally get between 1 to 200 absentee ballot requests for an election. But for this primary, the numbers were off the charts.
We had, approximately 1,600 ballots cast through the absentee process. The total number of ballots cast was just shy of 2,700. And so that's about 60% of those who voted in Durham voted absentee yesterday.
Officials from the Secretary of State's office say more than 100,000 absentee ballots were requested for the primary, with 78,000 of those being returned, easily eclipsing any previous mark. Bedford Town Clerk Sally Keller started seeing absentee ballots come in just days after they were sent out near the end of July, but most people waited until just before the election.
For instance, a couple years ago, we had 480 absentee ballots cast. Yesterday, we had over 2,500 cast. So it's a lot of extra work.
Keller says they've already had 3,600 absentee requests for the general election, and she thinks that number could double.
Request your ballot now. It allows us to plan better to get them out. We'll start mailing them out as soon as we get the ballots from the Secretary of State, which generally they tell us about 30 days prior.
Keller says don't wait. When you know who you want to vote for, mark your absentee ballot and get it in as soon as possible. Reporting live, Andy Hirschberger, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. So if you want to do absentee for that upcoming election, don't wait. Do it now. Sign up now. Police in Newport seek public's help to find motorcyclist, his grandson, pair last seen going for a ride Monday afternoon, police say. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9.
Busy lives need banking that can keep up. Triangle Credit Union offers big bank solutions with community value.
69-year-old Jerry Proper and his 22-year-old grandson, Cody Pillsbury, headed out for an afternoon ride on Labor Day. Jerry's wife says that's the last time she talked to him.
He said he was going to go for a ride on his bike. And I said, that's fine. And I'll see you when you come back.
When they did not return home on their red Honda trike, the family knew something was wrong.
The waiting and not knowing is killing me. I want to do more, but I don't know what to do or say.
Police launched a search, notifying law enforcement across the state and entering the case into the National Crime Information Center. State police joined by air, focusing on areas where they would typically ride. Newport police say Cody did take his cell phone, which is providing limited information due to bad cell service.
We were able to get a little bit of tower information from when his cell phone communicated with a cell tower at a location east of where we are now in Newport. And so with that information, it has given us at least a starting point, searching on the sides of the road and seeing if maybe they had some sort of vehicular issue or some other sort of event that prevents them from getting in touch with us.
Police and the family hope someone can help confirm a direction of travel or provide any clues.
I just want them to be found and come home if they can.
Jean Mackin, WMUR, News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Stock features fall slightly as investors try to assess whether the tech rout is over. U.S. stock features slipped early Thursday following a rebound that stopped a 3-day skid. Senator Rick Scott gives people the facts in pandemic response. Let's take a listen to that video from ABC News.
We're bringing in Republican Senator Rick Scott of Florida for some reaction and context. Thank you so much for joining us on this busy day, Senator.
Lindsay, how are you doing?
I am well. Let's start with Bob Woodward's book and those recordings that we heard from President Trump. You've praised the president's decision in the past to ban some travel from China at the end of January. But if the president knew in early February that the coronavirus was airborne, far more dangerous than the flu, and highly contagious, at this point now, looking back, do you feel that he should have done more earlier?
Well, I think you're right. I think he did the right thing by stopping the travel from China. But what I learned as governor, I had hurricanes, I had a healthcare crisis, and when you get information, you always, when you make a decision, when you finally do it, you probably should have done it a day earlier. That's at least how you feel. I think there's a lot of people that worked hard in the federal government. I do think that at every level, the federal, state, and local, they still could give us a lot better information. I think the public is pretty smart, and if they'll make sure they give us good information, as an example, tell us, if there's a shortage of PPE, tell us. We'll figure it out. If there's a shortage of ventilators, tell us. If they, tell us where there's, transmission of coronavirus and give us the facts. I think American public's pretty smart. They'll respond pretty fast.
Do you think it's possible that the president intentionally played down the virus threat and is keeping the public calm? Is that the most important goal when there's a pandemic, life or death threat?
Well, my approach has been to get people the facts. When a hurricane's coming, I got to get people to evacuate. I didn't mandate it. I just said, look, here's what's happening. If you don't evacuate, these are the consequences. I think as public officials, our job is to give people the facts as much as we know it. And if we don't know something, be very clear we don't know it. And if something changes, say, look, this is what I was told, or this is what I understood, or this is what I knew. But you know what? I know something better now. And I think that's what, at every level of government, that's what they should be doing with this and any other issue that we deal with, whether it's hurricanes or coronavirus or any healthcare scare.
You said today that the government officials should put out more information about virus transmission. What do you mean, and what else should the public know to stay safe?
I think, when I was governor, I had a Zika healthcare crisis that impacted newborns. And I told people very, very specifically, this is where we're seeing local transmission. And so, two things happened. One, people stopped going to those areas. Number two, the businesses and homes there figured out, how do I stop this? I think the same thing with this. If you tell us, hey, look, in this restaurant or this establishment, we're seeing that people are getting coronavirus, then we're going to expect that establishment, we're probably not going to go there for a while, and we'll expect that establishment to tell us how they're going to keep us safe. And I think that's what we ought to be seeing. I think they're putting out more information. I think Steve Hahn at the FDA has been trying to put out a lot of information on the testing. We're making progress there. I hope we're making progress on the vaccine. I mean, we're all very hopeful, but we don't, I know a lot of people are trying hard, but I just think the more information we have, tell us Americans are smart, will be very reactive.
And let's move on to another major headline today. Brian Murphy, a former DHS chief of intelligence, has filed a whistleblower complaint alleging that DHS officials tried to censor and manipulate intelligence about Russian election interference. The department has flatly denied these claims, but are they worth a congressional investigation? And are you concerned that it might be true?
Well, first off, you always want to get the facts. I mean, I think that government, one thing, if you expect people to trust government and follow your lead when you're elected, you better give them all the facts. And so I think on all these, let's put all the facts out there and figure out what deserves investigations and things like that. I don't know anything about that issue. Nobody's briefed me on it. But look, I want to get information out. I'm on Homeland Security Committee, where I think Chairman Ron Johnson works hard to try to get things out and get things into the open. And I think better decisions are made when everybody has the same information rather than it's conjecture and things like that. So I'm always open to, let's get the facts out and we'll figure out where we go from there.
Lastly, let's address the congressional impasse on stimulus spending. Republicans put together a slimmed-down bill with $500 billion in relief, which is a far cry from the more than $2 trillion that Democrats want to spend. Is there any room for compromise here? And what are millions of suffering Americans supposed to do while Congress remains in this stalemate?
You should be furious. I mean, I think Americans that still need relief should be disappointed that their Congress has not been able to come together and figure out something to do. I can tell you, Republican senators, we have a call almost every day with the White House, with Mark Meadows, the chief of staff, and Steve Mnuchin, to figure out how do we help the people that lost their job, how do we help our small businesses get reopened and stay open, and how do we get this economy going, how do we get our schools open. So the bill that we're going to pass tomorrow is going to be very targeted, but the Democrats, to date, so far at least, have said they don't want to have any conversation unless the number's bigger. Well, it's not about the number; it's about are you solving problems, and that's what I came up here to do, and I hope that's what everybody else is trying to do.
Senator Scott, we thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you coming on the show.
Thanks, Lindsay. Have a good day.
You too.
Hi. Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. And thank you for watching this morning edition of the Riley King Newscast right here on the Riley King Network. I hope you all have a great rest of your Thursday, and I'll see you back here later on today for another newscast. I'll have a news report coming up in a little bit. Goodbye, and see you in a little bit for a news report.